Hi, I'm Ashley Lafferty, and today I'm going to be reading this story, Even More Parts by Tedd Arnold. When we look at the cover of this story, I see body parts all over the page, but they're not actually connected to one another. I also see toys laying all over the floor. My prediction is that we're going to learn about the human body, but I guess we're going to have to read and find out. What do you think this book is going to be about? Even More Parts. Idioms from head to toe. Idioms. Do you know what idioms are? Idioms are expressions with figurative meanings that differs from what the actual meaning is. Idioms can amplify messages in ways that draws the readers in and helps them awaken their senses. The page has the example, "Quit messing with my head," and it's a head of a tank messing around with a dinosaur. Maybe we'll find some more idioms throughout this story. I guess we're gonna have to read it and find out. Sometimes I wish my stupid ears weren't always open wide. They hear such strange and crazy talk. I'm scared to go outside. Well, I don't know about you, but I found an idiom about the boy's ears always being open super wide. Can your ears actually be open wide? No, it's just a silly phrase. I jot down a list of all the scary things I've heard. Believe me, all of these are real. I wrote them down word for word. To leave my bedroom unprepared, I'd have to be a fool. Excuse me now, there's work to do before I go to school. Look how busy the boy is. He's rummaging around in all of his toolboxes, and his toys are reading all of his notes so that he's prepared to leave for school. What are certain things that you do before you go to school? I know some things that I do is I brush my teeth, I change my clothes, I get a shower, eat breakfast, and pack my lunch. I lost my head. Oh no! There's the body of the boy, but where did his head go? If we look around the page, maybe we'll find it. It looks like it's hidden behind the chair, and he looks scared along with his cat. On the bottom of the page, it says, "It makes my head spin." The dinosaur's head is spinning round and round. I laughed my head off. The one toy lost his head because he must have been laughing so hard. My head is in the clouds. The tank's head is up in a cloud. My goodness, these idioms are so silly. On this page, the boy says, "I keep changing my mind." He has minds all over the page. He has one brain in this hand, one in another, and mind boxes. On the bottom of the page, the superhero says, "I keep an open mind," and his head is off of his head. The dinosaur says, "My mind is wandering, and his brain is walking away." The tank says, "I lost my marbles," and there's marbles going all over the page. Oh boy, it looks like the student made it to school. The teacher says, "I want all eyes on me." And all the students' eyes are attacking her. They're all flying and flying onto her body. On the bottom of the page, the dinosaur says, "I cried my eyes out," and his eyes are lost on the floor. The tank said, "I have eyes in the back of my head," and they're behind the tank. On this page, the superhero says, "My eyes are glued to the television," and you can see that they are stuck to the TV. My goodness, on this page I see smoke swirling all over, and the boy's ears are on fire. He says, "My ears are burning." The tank on the bottom of the page says, "I'll give you an earful." The superhero says, "Hey, I'm all ears." And the dinosaur says, "Lend me your ears." On the next page, it says, "My nose is running." And if we look at the little boy, his nose has jumped off his face and is running across the deck of cards. On the bottom of the page, the tank says, "My nose is buried in a book." The superhero says, Keep your nose out of other people's business. And the dinosaur says, I just follow my nose. He's sniffing for a sandwich. On the next page, it says, I'm tongue-tied. The boy's tongue is all over his body. It must be so challenging for him to speak. The tank says, I just got a tongue lashing. The superhero says, whoops, I slipped on the tongue. And the dinosaur says, I told 10 tough tongue twisters. Don't give me any of your lips. Loose lips sink ships. I zipped my lips. My lips are sealed. I have a frog in my throat. Look at that frog trying to get that fly, almost like it's gonna zip and eat it. The dinosaur says, I have butterflies in my stomach. Look at those butterflies coming out of his mouth. The tank says, cat got your tongue? And the superhero says, no, I have ants in my pants. That does not feel very comfortable. Imagine having ants in your pants. I sang my heart out. My goodness gracious. His heart came out of his throat and popped onto the floor. That is such a crazy idiom. The princess is just staring down at him. On the bottom of the page, the dinosaur says, she stole my heart. And his girlfriend appears to be holding a picture of his heart in the photo. The superhero says, have a heart. Hearts for sale. And the tank says, I have a heart of steel. I'm hard-headed. My stomach is growling. Look at his belly. There's a whole mouth with teeth, and it's growling at him. Does your stomach ever growl sometimes? Sometimes mine says, "Grrr," and it means that it wants to eat some food. On the bottom of the page says, my fists are flying, and the superhero's fists are flying away. The dinosaur says, my teeth are chattering. Have your teeth ever chattered before? They sound like The tank says, my tongue is wagging. Looks like his tongue is wagging back and forth. On the next page it says, please lend me a hand. My goodness gracious, look at all those hands. It says, need a helping hand? On the bottom it says, I'm short-handed, and the superhero's hands are very short. The tank says, you have a green thumb. No two green thumbs. And a dinosaur says, I love finger food. On the next page, the boy is at the store, and in the cash register are a bunch of hands and legs. The top says, it costs an arm and a leg. So the boy is passing up one of his arms and one of his legs. Same with the cat. On the bottom, the dinosaur said, I had to foot the bill. And his foot is on the table with the bill. The superhero said, I had to pay through the nose. And the tank says, try what I do. Put your money where your mouth is. I put my foot in my mouth. Look at the foot in the boy's mouth. I think the girl is very upset with him. It must smell terrible. On the bottom of the page, the dinosaur says, oof, I started off on the wrong foot. The tank says, always put your best foot forward. And the superhero says, I'm feeling footloose. On the next page, it says, I'd better toe the line. And he's putting his toes in a row on the line. The superhero has a truck and says, "Here's a tow truck." The dinosaur says, "That's not an idiom." The tank says, "That's a pun." So the toys on the bottom of the page said that the superhero was wrong this time. He didn't provide an idiom, he provided a pun. "It made my skin crawl. When we look at the boy, his skin has crawled off of his body and is crawling away from him." The tank says, "It made my jaw drop." The superhero says, "It made my hair stand on end." And the dinosaur says, "It made my stomach turn." "I got all bent out of shape. My goodness gracious. Look at the boy. His body is all bent out of shape and tangled up with one another." The dinosaur says, "I couldn't keep a straight face." He's making a silly face. The tank says, "I got my nose out of joint." And the superhero says, "You twisted my arm." When we look at the next page, the boy has fallen all over the place. His body parts are not attached to one another. It says, "I went to pieces." The dinosaur says, "Pull yourself together." The superhero says, "I came unglued." And the tank says, "You've got guts." Have you used any of these idioms before? There are so many crazy things I have to keep in mind. I sure don't want to accidentally leave my parts behind. Mom says, "Dear, it's time for school. Let's go or you'll be late." Then Dad says, "Just remember, son." I wonder what Dad's gonna finish saying. Keep your head on straight. We look at the boy. Where is his head? His head is pointing in the opposite direction that it should be. It's pointed backwards. So his dad said to him to keep his head on straight. I hope you enjoyed this story, Even More Parts by Tedd Arnold. He also has other works called Parts, More Parts, and this book is Even More Parts. So if you're interested in reading his other works, I suggest them. They're very silly and fun, just like this one, and it's a great way to help your students or children remember idioms and other language of speech.